Okay. I can't not make this kind of video. I can't. So, I was just watching the start of a film called Mongol, which is about Genghis Khan. Now, in the first few scenes of the film, he's being taken by his father when he was a little boy to find a bride from a neighbouring tribe. When he arrives at the they don't get to, or anyway, as far as I am in the film, they haven't gotten to the tribe they were going to. They've stopped off on the way to a neighbouring tribe, which is just a friend. They're another friendly tribe, or a small tribe whose leader apparently is a friend of the boy's father, right? It doesn't really matter. When he arrives there with his father, when they arrive, they are greeted, welcomed, and a little girl trots over to him, to the boy, the young Genghis Khan, and asks him, "What's your name?" And his first reaction is, "I should ask first." Now, I have mixed feelings at that moment when I hear that. One is, yes, of course, there are rules and there are guidelines, time-honored traditions that we have in human culture that decide how interactions are governed. There are rules. There are guidelines for etiquette in any culture. And then I'm irritated by this film's introduction of a female child character who is bucking the rules. Now, in this particular instance, in this film, it might serve the storyline. However, it bugs me that this kind of thing happens routinely in films. Now, this film is not, this film is not like a Western Hollywood film. It's, I don't know, a film made by Asian filmmakers, German, Russian. Obviously Germany's not Asia, but it seems to be mainly a sort of Russian kind of originated piece. Whatever. The point is that in what we call Western media, every single time there's an opportunity for a woman to say, "Hey, look, I can buck the system," even especially when referring to historical realities, there she is. She's stuffed into that position, and I'm getting kind of irritated by it. Now, am I the spokesperson for the men of humanity? I don't know, because I don't hear many other people saying this, but I think it needs to be said. There are rules, and the more this feminist garbage continues, the worse things get for everyone. Now, there are customs, there are ways of doing things that are, some of which are ancient. Here's one that springs to mind straight away. In the West, what we call the West, we offer our right hand when we go to greet somebody. You know why? Because that means there's no weapon in it, and most people being right-handed, "Oh, but there's left..." Oh, shut up. Every time you say something nowadays, you feel like someone's going to get offended. Most people are right-handed. Fact. Alright? Suck it up. So, that means that your weapon hand is open. Alright? That's why you greet with your right hand. Other cultures do it differently. They have their reasons. Okay? Some cultures prefer not to give direct eye contact at certain times. Some cultures rely on it. We have these customs for reasons. Okay? Now, in that example, in the film, historically, it would have been deeply inappropriate for that young girl to have addressed the boy, because it's a masculine dominated culture. Why? because the men are tasked with making sure that their families are safe. For example, in that culture, it's already mentioned in that film that the boy's mother was stolen from a neighbouring tribe. I mean, that's tribal conflict. That's normal human behaviour. Oh, you can't. Oh, shut up. I can imagine idiots nowadays. You can't talk of that. I'm sorry. Or you can't talk of that. You can't talk that way. No, you can. This feminist stuff's got to be just broken down and chucked out the door. Okay? The reality is that we live in reality. We don't live in this false, fake nonsense that some people are trying to create. Okay? And we need to return to reality. Okay? In my life, I've made some mistakes. And those were blunders based upon not being given a lot of the rules I should have been given as a young man. And I have set my mind to discovering what those rules are myself by observing what I've seen, reflecting on my experiences. And all I have everything brings me to this understanding that this feminist nonsense is one of the key problems we have in our society, and it has to be removed and done away with completely. A hue and a cry will be issued, but it's just a hue and a cry. We have to get back to how we used to be, okay? And that's the truth. It didn't depend upon women being oppressed and mistreated. It depended upon men being in a position where they could properly account for the safety of their nations, their people, and provide effectively for their women, so that our families are in good shape. At the moment, just look at the divorce rate, and look at the number of single mothers who are raising children, and imagine the damage that does to the psyche of the boy or girl child of such an arrangement. It's a joke. Everyone can see it. Everyone can see it. And no one talks about it. It's the truth. It's sick, and it's got to stop. And the root cause is this feminist garbage. I stand by this. I have to stand by it. This is why I make these videos. They are important. This message has to get out, and it has to be spread, and it has to be understood, acknowledged, and acted upon by all of us. And this is an organic thing. This isn't something that you need to be a part of in terms of a membership of a club or whatever. You just need to act accordingly and switch your mind on. And this goes for men and women, because feminism does as much damage to women as it does to men. I've given this a lot of thought. I think about it a lot. I've had my fair share of relationships with women. I've learned a great deal. I've made terrible mistakes. I say terrible mistakes. I've made mistakes in those relationships because of not following rules that I didn't know existed. Because in my culture, apparently, someone took the rule book, tore it up, and threw it out the door. Well, sorry, we need to go out the door, pick up that rule book, repair it, and read it. Because there are rules that should govern human interaction and society. It doesn't mean it's all set in stone, but there are guidelines, and if you flout them, you pay. If you keep them, then things tend to go smoothly, and we've forgotten them. I've made mistakes in terms of family, in terms of relationships, in terms of marriage, definitely. And those were based upon this complete disaster that we've got in society, because the things that we relied upon to hold things together have been attacked, basically. I know who's attacked them, I know why they've attacked it, or attacked them. So we have to restore them. Focusing on those who attacked them doesn't solve anything. What solves it is fixing it ourselves, in our own lives. I will endeavour to do so in my own, and to encourage other people to do likewise. Am I perfect? No, I'm a human being. But that's why we have these guidelines, so that we have something to look to when we don't really know what's going on, or we're worried or whatever. Now, when you're conducting yourself in a tribal environment, like in this film I'm watching, there are rules, there are customs, there's etiquette. These things are important. You show respect. And we have completely lost that. It's a mess. Our whole world is a mess because all the rules are being thrown out the window. And I truly do think that we need to respect them and bring them back. I truly envisage a society whereby we once again have a proper situation whereby a man is responsible to his word, where honour is upheld and respected, where a man is in charge of his family, again, properly, where we remove this feminist diabolical garbage that has destroyed, I would say, upwards of 60% of the families that should otherwise have been still together. But men also need to be encouraged and supported by each other to do the right thing in their families. And also family is important. We've forgotten that. We pretend that the satisfaction of the individual is paramount. That plays into the hands of the people who have aimed to destroy our families through introduction of feminism and all these other isms which are just designed to separate everyone and make them easier to manipulate. The family is very important. I've said this before. We have Lord knows how many foreigners in England now. But what I will say is that they have strong families. And they must look at our culture. I don't know, they come to our culture and they look around and they think, what the heck is this? And then they think, this is what the television told me that I should aim for. This is modern Western culture. And they have a problem. Because on one hand, they have their families that they're devoted to, and then they've got the pressure of the Western culture, which is trying to drive them into this hideous mess that we've got, whereby everyone's obsessed with the individuality of the selfishness of the individual, you know? And that's, I think, part of the problem. The family is the building block of a nation. And look at the state of our nation. That's England I'm talking about. And I do speak on behalf of a hell of a lot of people here. I'm not a lone voice in the wilderness here. Millions of English people feel exactly the same way as I do. Millions of them. I know this, because statistically it's impossible that they don't. In my travels, I talk to people about this sort of stuff, and people from all backgrounds, English people, I've found feel the same way. Not all of them, but a great many of them. And we're told we're given the impression that we're just a minority. No, we are not a minority. I believe we are the majority. You can't not be when you see what's happening to your country. So, I think we have to recognise we're not a minority, and we recognise that we're not fringe. We are actually the mainstay. We're the mainstream. We are the English people. So we have to take our country back. Apply pressure however it's needed to be applied to get this done. We're merely being misled by this agenda that we have surrounding us and that's put in our faces all the time. It's just misleading. But if you choose to lead yourself and choose to make your own decisions and stop paying attention to the dastardly media, which is completely corrupted and works against you, and you start thinking for yourself, about your world, about your life, about what you want to see in the world, and start believing that you can make changes instead of being demoralized by the media which is created to demoralize you, then you can start making changes in this world. We need to reject feminism. Women as well need to completely reject feminism. It's a garbage lie, and they can see it. I tell you, if you want to see what it's done, look at the proportion of men who are now pushing around prams and pushchairs, and the proportion of women who are now walking the dog. Oh, well, they should be entitled. Oh, shut the hell up. Just notice what's happened to our society, please. Open your eyes, open your ears, and start looking and listening, watching what's happening. Our men, the whole male psyche is being attacked and weakened so that we don't fight back. Get your head out of your backside, men, and women, work with us on this. We need to fix this whole country, and by extension, maybe even the world as well. We need to sort this out. Good luck.